Alright, what a pain that was. Hey, what's going on, guys? Thanks so much for stopping by. So in today's video, we're going to be getting to something that you guys have requested. Now, I've heard about it over and over again, and I put up a poll, and it seems to be that everybody wants to get back to the diesel YJ. We have made some progress on it recently. I do have the engine in there, we've got the mount set, and we are ready to start working on the body. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at everything that it took to get us here. Alright guys, so we're out here again today, and I wanted
blah 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 blah.
Now you really should pay attention to this, especially in a short wheelbase vehicle like this Wrangler. You have a steep pinion angle already, so if you end up having the wrong angle at your tail shaft, you could really have a hard time getting rid of vibrations. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and tilt the front of the engine up a little bit and tilt the back end down. I ended up settling at about 3 degrees. 3 degrees gives me plenty of clearance up on the front, and then I got plenty of downward angle here in the back. So when I do go to set driveline angles and stuff like that, it's set to a point where I'm going to be able to get the best of both worlds and get everything to line up when I need to prevent any kind of vibrations. So from here, I should be able to get a double cardan drive shaft in here and make sure that I don't have any vibrations. I'm going to go ahead and get to tacking these things in place. I do have them set, and once I get them tacked, I'll get this out of here and then we'll burn them in for good. Alright guys, so as you can see from the videos, a little bit of thought has to go in to the actual placement of the engine. I got everything set now where I think it's going to be a happy medium. We got the mounts burnt in and everything is kind of sitting exactly where we want it. There's some clearance problems up front, but we're going to solve that with a new oil pan. And there's also a few other things that we got to tweak around here and there. Now in the process of all this, I got a lot of questions from you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and go through them one at a time here, and we're going to see if I can answer some stuff for you. So let's go ahead and take a look at the first one. So one of the first questions I got, guys, was how do I feel about the adapter? Alright, so let's go ahead and just get the air clear on this. The kit that I bought is from Mercedes Diesel 4x4. Now there are some people that have claimed to have great experience with them, and there are some people that have claimed to have a negative experience with them. All in all, it's the kit that I decided on probably about a year and a half ago when we first started this build. So it's the one that I'm going to continue forward with. If something happens along the way when I'm putting this stuff together and I feel like I need to change it, then guys, I'll change it. But right now, as it sits, I understand, you know, how the kit's built. Everything looks like it lines up fine. The pilot bushing and the pilot bearing, if that becomes a problem, then that's something that we'll address. But for the most part, everything looks like it needs to be where it is. The dowels fit on the transmission fine, the plate fits good, the input shaft is directly in the center of the crankshaft, so I'm gonna go ahead and go forward with it. If something happens, you guys will be the first to see it. But if it doesn't, then that's just the way it is. Alright guys, so one of the next questions I got had to do with the accessories on the engine and which ones I'm going to run. Now my understanding is you can run an uprated alternator on these from a Saab. So I'm going to look into that. And as far as air conditioning goes, guys, I really don't know yet. This Jeep, the way it's going to be built, it might not end up having air conditioning. I'm going to do my best to make sure it's got that comfort, but right now I just haven't planned enough ahead to know if this is going to have air conditioning or not. So sorry. Alright guys, so another one of the questions I've gotten is in respects to the rear axle. Now, it's a Dana 35, there's nothing special about it. It's not an inherently strong axle. They do brake, but this is just to get this thing up as a rolling chassis and get it forward. So if I do end up having a problem with the axle, then a set of Wagoneer 44s will swap into this thing really easy. So I'm not worried about axles right now because that is actually a very easy thing to solve for this. So we're going to keep moving forward with the 35. It's just going to hold its place right now. There's going to be all kinds of things upgraded with this thing along the way, but right now, guys, it might stay, it might not. So we'll just have to see when we get there. So another one of the questions that I've run into is, do I plan on running the internal slave cylinder on the transmission? Right now the answer to that question is yes. Now I do know that it is a relatively easy upgrade to upgrade this to an external slave cylinder, and I am more than willing to do that if something happens, but right now I'm trudging forward with the parts that I got. The actual clutch kit that I ordered had the internal slave cylinder with it already, so it was no additional cost to keep everything how it is. If I have to upgrade it, guys, I will, but right now I just want to move forward and get as much done as I can. So internal slave cylinder is staying for now. So another one of the big questions is what are we doing next? Well, next, now that we've got the frame kind of set, we've got the engine mounted in the frame, we're going to shift gears and we're going to move to the body. It's time to go ahead and get the body stripped from that frame and get that old junk frame out of here, do what we got to do with the components that we're going to remove, but it's time to go ahead and clear that stuff and get it to the point where we're making these two vehicles one. So the next couple episodes of this particular build are going to be stripping and allocating parts off the donor vehicle and getting the tub ready to move in here onto this frame so we can cut it apart and kind of make it what we want. We're still going for an Outpost 2 type body, but there's going to be some modifications, not going to be the exact same because this is of course a much smaller vehicle than a JK, but I think you guys are going to be really happy with the way that I planned this out and how it goes. So stick around and you guys are going to see exactly what kind of body we go with here. Alright guys, and that's where we are right now. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. We've got a ton of stuff to do on the YJ, and stripping the donor vehicle and getting all the parts out of the YJ, that's going to give us more availability for parts for the XJ to move forward with it. So we have got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of pieces are going to start falling together. So we are going to probably start flipping between the YJ and the XJ pretty regularly. Both these vehicles are to the point now where they can start being put together. There are still going to be some things that we're going to have to pull back apart and, you know, test measurements and test fitting, but these vehicles are to the point where it's time to start getting them together. We still have some maintenance stuff to do on the JK that's going to keep popping up. It's not going to have near the frequency that it did. I know that you guys are a little bit more invested in these projects as builds than the JK because it's a little bit more of a bolt-on affair, but we will take care of that as well. A lot of parts coming for the JK, so we'll keep all three of these vehicles updated. But that's where we're sitting at right now, guys. I hope I answered some of your questions on what's going on with the YJ and where we're going with it. I hope you like this update, and I hope you enjoy seeing this engine in here as much as I do, and knowing that this project is now moving forward at the end of a very, very long, terrible year. So thanks so much for sticking with me, guys. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next one.